Yeah, and the good news is a lot's changed, lots happened in the last 3 years. I mean, you could probably make the case that more's happened in the last 3 years than the previous 10 in terms of
Yeah,
change, transitions, challenges, etc. So, yeah, hopefully we could share some of those experiences and yeah, keep it light and see what happens.
sure. I think it's really interesting after you went away for 3 years and coming back, you're like, oh, this is what I was doing at Blackbird and I kind of got it. But then on the plane back from Dubai, you started kind of really getting into the weeds of what you were doing. And I was just very impressed with how much you've learned. Someone at your age, it's pretty cool. So well
Oh,
done.
no, I appreciate it. I was really fortunate, honestly, to have that opportunity. Originally went there on a 12-month contract, and the goal was really just to learn as much as I could about early stage, venture capital, private equity style investing. So obviously having worked at Afterprime for 3+ years, most of my experience in finance was around, listed, unlisted derivatives, less so on the private capital market side. So it was really amazing to be able to kind of see, the other side of financial services and yeah, really learned a lot. And I'm very happy I had that experience. And yeah, I think once I've done that, really opened up my mind to like the power and the possibility of what it takes to take a company from an idea to an MVP to a seed stage to a Series A and beyond. And yeah, really excited to see now like what can we do to implement some of those learnings in a real world business context and hopefully take that operational knowledge to the next level. So
Amazing.
yeah,
So I guess if there's anyone out there that wants to invest in Afterprime, they have to go through you.
well, you got to change my title to head of corporate development first, but
From
yeah.
intern to, it's a running joke in the office that Sammy's intern, even though he's been with us for
Perpetually
so
that
long.
student mindset, always an intern for life. So
100%. Well, I think we definitely learn a lot from each other over the years. And it's
yeah.
just so good to have you back.
No, I
So
think we joke about the intern thing, but the truth is, like, I really do feel like I'm an intern everywhere I go. Like, I think
soak it up.
there's always so much to be learned and so much to be gained. And like when you're an intern at a company, you're just focused on building relationships and learning as much as you can from those people around you. And I feel like as you kind of get more experience, you can kind of fall away from that mindset and kind of lean into what your strengths are. But then you kind of neglect the growth piece. So we joke about it, but I'm happy to be an intern for life. I'll take it.
Amazing. So what do you think is some of the main things that you learned at Blackbird that you like to bring into Afterprime? You mentioned the operationalizing side of things. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think like you see so many different startups that come through, and a lot of them have really incredible technical founders. A lot of them have really incredible business founders. And I really just tried to observe as much as I could and see, well, what are the common denominators, if you will, that separated, those companies that really, went on to do amazing things and those that, had amazing ideas and were great at the concept stage, but kind of weren't able to execute on the vision. So I documented a lot of what I was learning in the sense of, those kind of key, I guess, factors, whether it's founder based or business based. And I think one of the biggest things that I was able to observe is like a founder gets into a early stage, tech company and they really kind of are the business. They're doing everything. And it's interesting because like founders often come from a specific discipline, whether it's, they're software engineers or they were in banking and finance or they were in healthcare, whatever it is. And they have really incredible, deep industry expertise in a particular field, but then they have to go and learn, everything else that comes running a business. And I think the rate of learning is really the thing that separated, the founders that went on to really kind of nail it. And doing that by also learning how to delegate at the right time and kind of not spreading yourself too thin.
Yeah.
Also really important.
Yeah, I definitely feel you. I mean, separating from Global Prime, which is a business that we ran for over 10 years into Afterprime, was not without its challenges for sure. And, even recently with one of our heads leaving the business, we've had to kind of jump back in and get involved in a whole bunch of parts of the business that, need proper looking at. And having someone like you come in to help us operationalize a little bit and make sure the reporting lines are in place and all the stuff that, we need to be doing as a business. And we do, but we can refine. For us as the founder kind of perspective, you've got to always be worrying about the risks of the business and make sure that's covered and also the growth of the business as well. So while making sure that everyone's happy. So it's a lot.
Yeah.
And, I think that there's only so much that you can do as a founder. And definitely like the biggest lesson I think that we've learned through the separation is that when you have staff that are working for you and kind of looking after different parts of the business, it's important to not just be like, okay, you've got this, it's all yours, you manage it, you look after it. it's only once you kind of get back involved that you realize that you really need to be involved in every single part of the business and owning all parts of it. So it's been a crazy journey to say the least.
Yeah, well, I think Global Prime is a great like business case study in a way. Like
Yeah.
you guys built an amazing business over 10 years, incredible growth, very, amazing levels of profitability, really healthy financials in terms of the balance sheet. And then, now you guys have kind of cycled back into that growth stage, that startup mindset where, yourself and Alana are back in the weeds in a way that you weren't, when I was there, some three plus years ago. So it's been amazing to watch. I think it's serendipity that like the experience I got to have, in my time away from the business was very much, heavily focused on early stage growth, founder mindset type of work. And, now coming back into the business at a time when you and Alana are kind of back in that startup mode, it's been really amazing to see, how low level you guys are getting involved day to day. And like I said, you guys built it once. There's no reason why you can't build it again, but only now you have 10 years, a decade of experience under your belt. And I think it only results in a much more accelerated growth curve. So
100%. Yeah, it's all the lessons that you learn along the way, and you get to do it again from a fresh perspective. Take all those lessons and really double down on the stuff that did work, double down on not doing the stuff that didn't work. And yeah, it's exciting to have this opportunity. Lana and I have never really had 100% ownership over the work that we've created over the years, and now we do. And we're working with the right people. So it's just really exciting place to be. I'm looking forward to working with you further on it.
Yeah. And like I was thinking a lot about, on the way here, we discuss a lot high level kind of business concepts, but what's it like, I guess, for you as someone who's in it day to day, the realities of growing a business? I think we tend to see a lot of the glamorous side of it, especially on social media, whether it's LinkedIn or TikTok or Instagram, etc. But the day-to-day grind of running a business it's no small feat. And I think now I'm getting to appreciate, vicariously through you guys, what you guys are going through, having to really kind of dig down low level and be in the weeds again, even as the ones who are running the business. So can you talk a little bit to like what those challenges have been like and, the side of the business that perhaps people don't see front and center?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, especially because it's so recent, and the post that I made on LinkedIn recently about it as well, definitely like you don't know when shit's going to hit the fan in a business in different ways. You don't know when shit's going to hit the fan for you personally in different ways. The post that I made on LinkedIn was all about anxiety that I went through the last, like, say 6 months or a bit more than that. And yeah, I mean, you can go and read the post to see a bit more about it. But when it comes to running a business, there's just so many different things that can be thrown your way. And, we operate on different levels at different times. Sometimes you're really on and you can get to work and smash things out. Then other times you might be going through personal issues or whatever it is, or someone in the business might be going through that, and you try and be there for them and for each other. But I try and expose the non-glamorous parts as well. And I think it's important, especially with something like anxiety that affects 1 in 3 people throughout their life. And that's actually like towards a debilitating side of anxiety. There's a lot of different things that you can do to deal with it. And I kind of said to everyone, my DMs are open if you ever want to chat. I mean, the outreach of support that I had was amazing, from friends, from colleagues, different people in the industry, people that I haven't spoken to before, was pretty cool. I've definitely come out of that and operating at 100% probably for the first time in my life. And yeah, just really happy to be on the other side of it. But there's so many parts to it. I mean, even recently we had someone resign today that, I was very excited about working with, and it's unfortunate, but when someone's going through their own personal issues, they need to take time off and really focus on what they need to do to get better. And maybe there's an opportunity in the future again. The door is always open. So yeah, not easy, but at the end of the day, if you're working in a business that you love, with people that you love, and you're doing stuff that really excites you, and you're trying to really change an industry, that really gets you out of bed in the day. And it's just super exciting.
Yeah, I feel like it's really interesting to kind of delve a little bit into your mindset, because you're operating in a business that's, predicated in financial markets, and it's like there's so many ups and downs. I just remember when we were operating Global Prime, on any given day, there could be something that moves the dial in a very, very meaningful way, whether that's an election or an economic event or the economic calendar, or various different things that are happening underlying markets. So the nature of the business, by definition, it's very like ups and downs, and quite volatile. So how do you stay level headed? Like, especially like you've obviously been quite open about the battles you've been battling with from an anxiety standpoint, but how do you maintain, like, what are the tools that you have in the toolkit to be able to, I guess, persevere when those moments get tough? in the context of a business that's highly volatile as
Mm.
it is?
So I guess I have certain things in the toolbox that I turn to when things are tough. Float tanks, ice baths, massages, going to gym, even though it's all disappeared because I stopped going. Yeah, you have your tools in the toolbox that you reach out to, whether it's therapy. I mean, there's so many different things that you can do. And then you have the day-to-day, which is when things are just going pretty well. And I feel like I don't really need to dip into that toolbox when things are going well, but I've got a good support network. If things, are a bit difficult, I know exactly who to turn to for different things. And then sometimes someone that's been able to help me out through something in the past, for example, this recent anxiety, whatever I tried wasn't lifting it. And I had to go and turn to a doctor and try something different. But throughout all of it, I kept telling the people around me and to myself as well that you've got this and it's just a phase that you're going through and you're going to get through the other side. And you just back yourself and believe in yourself and believe in your team to look after and do the heavy lifting when you can't sometimes. And yeah, it's just about having the right people about you and the right mindset. But when it's dark, it's dark. But, I think those challenges are just a shining light that something big's about to come and you grow from those challenges. So it's more about the growth than the challenge, but you got to reach out to people and make sure that you're not just suffering in silence when it's really bad.
Yeah, and it's a nice segue. They say that the night is always darkest before the dawn.
It really is.
You're openly a person of faith. So what role does faith play in your day-to-day, first of all, and then also how does it play and interplay with the business context? How does it serve you in that sense when it comes to overcoming, whether it's anxiety or self-doubt, etc.? What role does faith play in overcoming those types of obstacles?
So as a religious Jew, a big part of it comes down to faith, and it comes down to, the understanding that whatever happens to you happens for a reason, and it's always for the best. And there's a higher power out there, whichever way that, different people can look at it, and you're connecting with it in a way that's healthy, and you're not doing it as a way to force other people to do stuff, and it's more about your relationship with God. To me, it's a cheat code to life because you've got this kind of external force that you can turn to and thank for what is happening in your life. And I think as well, there's certain books in Judaism or in any religion that you can turn to or different people that have amazing insights from all these old texts. I mean, one of the books that really got me through the dark time was Shari B'Tochen, which was written over 1,000 years ago. And it's all about man's vocation and trust in God and things like that. And one part that really stood out for me is that in business, you realize that you can't take the credit for everything. There's certain things that happen along the way, like an investor that just pops up out of nowhere and saves you.
Lots of serendipity.
Correct. And you can't say that I did this and it's all me. And it's almost like it calms down your ego and you don't have to walk around with this big ego, like I did this. You actually realize that there's certain things that happen throughout the business that are completely from upstairs or from the universe, whatever you want to call it, that you had no say over or control over. And I really feel like God or the universe, whichever way you want to look at it, is really guiding myself, my family, Afterprime, my friends, always in the right direction. So yeah, having that faith definitely helps in times of toughness. If I didn't have that, I think it would have been a lot more difficult.
Yeah, there's a mantra that I try and live by, which is, faith over fear. And I think a big part of the things that, or big part of the reason that most people are not able to, I guess, galvanize themselves to go and pursue the things that they're passionate about, it's mostly fear driven, the fear of the unknown, the fear of what might go wrong, the fear of failure. So, no doubt these are, I guess, things that you would have faced and that you constantly face. I think the biggest mistake is people think, oh, well, get to a point and that subsides and now you're good. It's no, it's a journey that you're constantly battling with, you're constantly tested with, and it's not something that just, some destination that you arrive at and now it's all good. So, you wrote in the notes that God literally guides you through everything. And I feel like that in a way kind of speaks to the idea of fear, where it's you can alleviate that fear by having trust in God. How do you, I guess, implement that daily? It's a nice concept conceptually. It sounds really good, but for someone who isn't maybe as spiritually inclined, what are some of the rituals or what are some of the, mantras, if you will, that you kind of implement day to day to really manifest that?
So myself personally, I mean, it's not just the Jewish side of things as well. Joe Dispenza, I'm sure some people will be familiar with, has this one meditation on actualizing potential. And I don't listen to it so much these days, but if I'm ever feeling like I need to manifest something, or if I feel like there's something that I need to deal with, or even just calm down for 45 minutes, I put that on. It's amazing. and it kind of like guides you through this process of, going to a place where you're almost meditative, but at the same time, you're really actively pulling in from an alternate reality, almost a future vision into today's world. Sounds a bit esoteric, but I don't know. There's something about that. All the stuff that I've ever visualized inside those meditations have come true. Also, anything I've ever asked God for has come true, good or bad. There's been times that I've asked for the wrong things as well, but growing up a little bit maybe. But just in general, go back to the toolbox idea. For me, the float tanks are really good, which is basically like there used to be like this deprivation chamber, they called it, which is awkward branding, but kind of like shut the lid and the water's the same temperature as your body and you float. And basically none of your five senses are activated. But now they've got these really like more up class ones, let's call it, or classy ones where it's like an open bath and they've got the stars on the roof. And yeah, to me, that's like really cool. But then there's so many different things. There's eating right, there's going to gym, there's therapy, there's just different things that you turn to depending on what it is. And then, we spoke about it earlier as well. Sometimes we have these like unconscious blocks that we're looking at a situation and saying it's not right for us because of X, Y, and Z. But maybe it's because of our upbringing has made us a certain way that led us to a point where we're like, don't even realize that we have this stumbling block of how we're perceiving things. And sometimes you got to go and do a bit of therapy as well to like analyze that. But it just really depends on how much someone is receptive to therapy versus physical movement. Yeah, lots of different ways to look at it.
Yeah, and I think you've obviously touched quite heavily on the spiritual side of it. And I think it's the what I've started to realize is that it's one system. So, from my standpoint, I know that for me, if I'm exercising every single day, if I'm eating right, I know it sounds cliche because it is cliche, and there's a reason why these things are cliche.
It
but
works.
you could see a material, measurable benefit to your performance, your cognitive ability, the way you handle your moods, everything. You just regulated.
Yeah.
And I think in the moments of difficulty, you kind of need a system in your brain where the default option sends you to go and do the things that will lead to a positive outcome. So for me, it's like if I'm stressed, I know that if I go do some physical activity, factually speaking, I will feel better. I've almost never regretted exercising. I've only regretted not exercising. So yeah, I think it's having that combination of the spiritual side in check, and then also making sure that the physical, is working in tandem with it. It's really just one system.
And sometimes you'll come to a stage where you're like, hey, all this stuff in my toolbox isn't working. You got to try something different. Another big part that I think is probably good to mention is your vision and purpose for yourself and for your company or the place that you're working. When you have that kind of vision and you know what your purpose is, I'm probably not going to touch on it at this podcast, but I've worked it out over the last couple of years what that is. Rocking up to work is not work. It's just fun because first of all, we work in an amazing industry. Let's call a spade a spade. I mean, there's just always something new to touch. There's always a new thing to deal with, a new thing to learn, a new platform to integrate, a new product. You got DeFi, all these different things that are happening in the world that you're just constantly engaged. So having that, I mean, obviously if you're going through something that's in your brain or whatever, then it's separate to it, but that definitely helps. But that purpose, once you've got that and you're locked in and you know why you're rocking up to work every day and why you're doing what you're doing, then I think that a lot of other things fall into place, and also the universe kind of conspires to actualize it as well.
Yeah, you touched on the idea of purpose, and I think it's always been amazing to me that there isn't a formalized, systematic effort to try and get, whether it's kids getting out of high school, coming out of university, to sit down and actually question themselves and say, what is my purpose? What are my values? And is my day-to-day aligning with those values and with that purpose? And that's an exercise that I was never, taught in school or university. And to me, it really baffles my mind that isn't something that's kind of pushed at an institutional level. And you kind of have to hope and pray that someone comes across that throughout their own fruition, throughout the course of their life. So yeah.
I mean, isn't it something that you learn over life though? I mean, for me, when I was 40, it's like only now am I starting to realize it. When we first started running Global Prime, I remember at one stage I was like, okay, we're making a bit of money and the clients are happy, but there's just like numbers moving around the screen and around the world in terms of the billions that were being traded a month. And once we started hiring people and giving them the opportunity and seeing someone like yourself and where you grow from that as well, that to me gave me a lot of purpose. But that kind of purpose was good back then and it still holds true today, but it's really evolved a lot more than that as well. I mean, even for Afterprime, what's its purpose? is to give traders the best environment for them to have the best shot at trading success. And how you do that is, first of all, looking after them, making sure they have access to the founders and the ability to reach out in a public space, like on our Discord, for example. But the biggest thing, I think, is also the trading cost side of things. And if we can give our clients the lowest cost trading opportunities in the market with the best execution and, handhold them through their journey as well, then everything's good. So yeah, we know what our purpose is for Afterprime now and exactly how to go about it. We're almost there. We're launching our zero commission offer on raw spreads, which has never been done before in the market. So yeah, I won't talk too much to Afterprime just yet. I'm sure we'll get into it somewhere in the notes, but yeah, you got to have that vision for yourself, your family, your business, everything. And if you don't have it, speak to ChatGPT. I've seen people go to ChatGPT now and like, hey, can you help me define my purpose? And then you can actually flesh that out and say, okay, now give me a monthly plan for the next month of how to get closer to that, and then a yearly goal or whatever it is. But also you can speak to people that you can work that out as well. Or maybe inside a company, there's someone that you can reach out to and chat to. Like as a founder, I'd love to hear from anyone inside a company that kind of has these aspirations. And it's always nice working with someone to make sure that they're heading in the right direction themselves personally.
And I think shifting gears to what we were discussing earlier about early stage startups, etc. I think I've really thought very deeply about, from what I've observed, what are the characteristics or the traits that separate, like I said, those founders that have incredible ideas, but then from the ones who have incredible ideas and an incredible ability to execute on those ideas. And I think mission and purpose really is everything. We used to have this saying at Blackbird, and I think it still holds true today, where we only want to invest in generational companies that don't just have the potential to make a difference, day to day, but can really change the world on a global level. And in order to be that type of company and have, be from that type of cachet, you really have to have a very clearly defined mission and purpose as to why you exist beyond simply economic pursuit or a financial outcome. And I think it's very true. You notice that whether it's, Mel and Cliff from Canva or, some of the other examples that you can point to, it's so clear they have a very, very clearly defined mission and purpose that so far transcends the economic or financial outcome that also might be a byproduct of doing that. And I think if a founder has, from what I've observed, if they have that combination of the idea with obviously the ability to execute, but also very, very strong purpose that they're grounded in, I think that normally is the recipe for success, at least from what I've observed. So
yeah, it definitely helps. Also having the right team and people around you, one of the most important parts. You got to have some headwind in your sales, know the numbers as well. I mean, there's some great books, From Good to Great, unbelievable. I could probably mention a couple more. Maybe I'll put in the comments. But these books are out there where you can go and actually delve into finding, either your company's purpose or its profit models and making sure that everything's aligned. There's a lot to get right, but once it starts singing and you see everything kind of falling into place, it's like watching magic. It's kind of like a video game. I mean, people play video games. I think a lot of traders do actually play video games, but you got bosses to defeat, you got challenges to unlock, there's side quests, there's this and that. The difference is it never really ends. I think, someone that really enjoys what they do, I don't see how you stop doing what we do, because it's just fun and engaging. And it's like a family away from family. And then you go to these industry events and you meet your kind of industry family around the world every couple of years as well. And everyone just catches up. It's just, we love it.
Yeah. And one thing I've observed about you specifically as a founder, you're obsessed to the point of absolute obsession with having the best product. And in our case, in this context for the retail trading business, it's about having the lowest costs and the best execution, etc. But to a point where you're willing to sacrifice significant amounts of revenue for the sake of putting out the cheapest price and offering traders the best conditions to be profitable. So maybe shifting gears a little bit back to the idea of, Global Prime, the mission of Global Prime was really to be, to eliminate all the conflicts of interest from the industry, in the sense that a lot of other brokers that operate, different models, there is a conflict of interest there. And the idea that with Global Prime was we're not going to sacrifice our integrity for some profits. How has that influenced your vision for Afterprime? And then I guess from a value proposition standpoint, what do traders need to be aware of, or what is, I guess, the reasons why they should come to Afterprime versus some other broker, with the decade of experience that you have and being so committed to putting out the best product?
Yeah, when it comes to what we're trying to do a little bit differently to back in the day, Global Prime for us was really about the transparency side of things and making sure that we ran an A-book model. And just for people that might not understand that, not that we're going too much into V-books anymore because we had our time in the past, but the A-book model is basically when you're not profiting from client losses is the simplest way to say it. And not many brokers in the industry, if many, run an A-book model where you don't profit from client losses. So off the back of that, we had really good clean pricing and we built some amazing relationships with, tier one banks around the world, clear through prime brokers, non-bank market makers, your Jumps, your Citadels, your Virtus, XTX. I could keep going. We learned a lot about pricing side of things. And we also worked out that there's ways to fill clients at better prices than what the banks are doing and how to go about that. I mean, when we launched Afterprime, the guys that took over Global Prime had better spreads than us, credit to them. So we're like, shit, I can't launch Afterprime, or we can't launch Afterprime with spreads that aren't, as good or competitive. So we had to kind of like tap the devs on the shoulder and say, look, we need you to build a system that basically, without going into the smarts of it, gives us the best price in the world, which we did. So launching Afterprime, best spreads in the universe, still to this day. You can fact check that on Forex Benchmark, and I can leave a link on how to do that as well. The next part was really the execution side. It's all good having, the best spreads in the world, but you need to have that like good top of book and good execution as well. Correct. So we started like going down the path of understanding how to build our own liquidity that, either competes with the banks or other brokers as well. And that kind of led us to where we are now, where we're able to offer a zero commission product on zero spreads on Eurodollar, for example, where, if the spreads are $0 and you're not paying any commission, you can trade Eurodollar all day long for free pretty much. That's never really been done before. So, that's also back with more depth. We're working very closely with some of our larger clients as well to custom build their own liquidity. We can, pretty much structure the entire order book for them as well to make sure that they let us know what they want to hit and we can build that for them. And now it's really about having these kind of two products, your main core retail focus, and then your kind of like larger volume traders that sit on a high top of book stream, for example, and making sure like how do you categorize between the two and let them choose. So that vision really now is the lowest cost of best execution. And we're just in the middle of that journey. And that's really going to always be combined with this transparent kind of win-win approach with our clients where, for us, it's that balance to strike to make sure that everyone's happy and looked after, but in a conflict-free environment.
Yeah. Well, they say in the industry, innovate or die. And you're, I would say, one of the wildest innovators in the, FX and derivative space, at least from the people that I'm aware of. To the point where, we've spoken about, commission-free trading. You're just incredibly committed to putting the best product out there to the point where you're even thinking of ways to help clients monetize. And in this industry, if you think about what a successful client outcome means, it's profitability. You want clients to be making, money consistently and that have that not be a conflict of interest with what the brokers is trying to do as well.
I think as well, like the role of a broker isn't to make your clients profitable. For me, the role of a broker is to give them the best environment for them to trade in. And that's what we're trying to do with the first phase of this, which is the lowest cost and the best execution. But I don't think the role of a broker is to help your clients make money. To me, it's you're a broker and it should be, agnostic, and you're just there to help your clients have the best chance of success.
Yeah. You were very big on the idea of community before it was fashionable to build a community around your business. We can go all the way back to when was it, 2012, 2013, when you were on the Steve Hopperwood's forums, really kind of making a name for what was Global Prime at the time in the community space. At that time, it was on Reddit or the various different forums. Now, obviously, community and business are kind of synonymous, and there's a big kind of Venn diagram overlap that happens. What have you learned about, first and foremost, about what it takes to build a community, and then what value has building a community offered to your business, and potentially other business owners out there could also learn from that experience to implement to themselves?
Well, I think the first thing is like to realize that I really started as a trader the same way that all our clients do. And when you fall into trading, the first thing you do is you go online and you try and find strategies and you teach yourself all these different things and you get these indicators. And then, you also have these forums where you can go and, like you mentioned, Steve Hopwood's a good one, Forex Factory. There's no other ones that come into mind, but you got all these different forums that you can interact with other traders and kind of build alongside them. So that's really how I got my first start in the industry. If you go to Forex Factory, you can actually type in Gemuk and see my first post, like asking how moving average worked. And then I kind of jumped from there to Steve Hopwood's forum and started teaching other people how to trade my strategy that I learned in conjunction with other people. And that really gave us a big break because Steve made us the official broker of his forum when we first started, and clients kind of came through the door from the beginning, and we were able to interact with the community. So we've kind of kept that vibe going with Afterprime, where we have a Discord that we hang out with our clients. And it's something that I don't think a lot of brokers can do, or either that or they may be a bit worried to, because you got blowback if clients aren't happy with their execution, or if something goes wrong with a withdrawal, or if their broker's trying to claw back profits, God forbid, or things like that. And we have a Discord that anyone can come into at any time and raise any issue that they're going through. And it just doesn't happen because the clients are really happy. So, for us, it holds us accountable, but I'm really comfortable doing that because we know we're doing the right thing by our traders. And then it opens up other opportunities as well. For example, a lot of if not all of our retail support staff came through traditionally being clients of Afterprime. And yeah, they're like, hey, can I get a job? And we've gotten to know them through the community. So it's really easy to bring them on, and they get what's going on. They love the brand, and yeah, it's just really easy to grow with them. So if you can do it and you're running any type of business, I think it's really important in today's day and age to have that. But there's also a whole method to actually how you get people engaged and how you get people talking. And for example, we have these amazing trading competitions that we have 1,000 people at some stages entering these competitions and battling it out. And a lot of people say that these trading competitions are really good for them because it enables them to like log their trading alongside the journals that we have in there, for example. So I mean, you kind of got to go and have a look, but it's how you structure those rooms, how you bring people in, how you incentivize people to lead conversations and make things happen, who you make into ambassadors. There's a lot to it, but highly recommended to any kind of business if you've got a transparent model that you're happy to kind of have that run.
And what would be the biggest, I guess, things that you've learned if you were a business owner in any field? It doesn't necessarily have to be specific to financial markets or trading. What have you learned that could potentially be useful to other business owners out there about how you actually build that community? How do you're obviously a master at generating hype in the industry and bringing people in and making them feel like they're a part of that journey, so they become net promoters for the brand without you really having to do much else other than kind of guide them and show them the way. So what kind of methods and strategies have you, I guess, learned over the years in terms of what it takes to build a community around your business?
There's a lot that I can think of, but if we want to keep a high level, the most important thing that you can do as the founder is to be in the weeds. Like, you've got to be in there talking to your community. You got to be in there engaging them. You got to be in them, in there pulling them into like ambassador groups so you can have these private conversations about, different releases before you even go to talk to your clients about those releases. It's not something that you can palm off to someone. And I think, content as well is another big side of things, because you can't just bring someone and be like, okay, you go and manage that. It's all on you now. Go build the social following. Like, you really got to be out there interacting with your people, either inside your personal Discords or with your staff, even inside your Slack or whichever kind of method that you're using to speak to people. If you're not in there, then the magic isn't going to happen unless you really don't think that you can do it. And then you got to bring someone in to make it happen for you, but you got to be involved.
So you're saying you have to go to where the community is as the founder and then remain engaged throughout the entire process to bring people in and then continue to engage with them so they become net promoters and then they compound and bring people in for you.
Yes, I would say so. But even more than that, it's you're the guy that's doing it. You're the guy that's DMing them. You're the guy that's, building those relationships. When someone reaches out to you, you got to write back to every single person, whether it's a comment on LinkedIn, whether it's a staff member, whether it's on Discord, whether it's wherever it is, you got to be in there. And, I think at some point it gets to such a stage where you can't be involved with every single person, but that doesn't mean that you take a step back. You're still there and you find ways to then engage groups of people. But to start off with, you need your key people inside there that are in there having the conversation. I mean, Discord's not easy to start. You start a Discord, it's just you and a mate in there, for example. You bring your staff in, then you got to bring your clients into it. Then you got to get them talking. Then you've got to like segment them into different groups. For example, we want to launch prop trading at Afterprime, and it's like, how do we do an A-book style prop? People that are trading props, like, you're not trading on real account money. I can promise you that much across all the prop firms. So it's bringing people into a group specifically for that's private inside our Discord that we can then go and talk to and build that product together alongside them. So yeah, that's coming soon. Stay tuned. So Sammy, I think it might be interesting to ask you a little bit about the like personal brand side of things, but also like growing a business on the organic side of things. I mean, you were with Blackbird for a while. I love their branding. I believe they have a full-time person over there, like making things look shit hot. So what kind of stuff do you think you've learned on those sides of the business that you're looking to touch on with us?
Yeah, I mean, I think something that I thought a lot about, you know, through my time was what are the levers that really kind of move the dial in terms of a brand new business that's trying to go to market and generate, whether it's user growth, revenue growth, etc. What is the biggest multipliers you can do, at an early stage and have the highest ROI? And I think for a number of years it was all about, getting meta ad spend, big marketing budgets, and spending ungodly amounts of money on marketing, and that was really effective for a very, very long time. But I think now, the return on ad spend has just gone way down because of how saturated social media is, and I think now there's a massive premium that's being put on organic raw content, not overproduced. People just want to see a founder, talking to a camera. Sometimes they just want to see something raw and real. And I think nowadays the way the algorithms are set up, and I'm by no means a social media expert at all, but anyone now has the opportunity to go viral. It's not just, people or creators that have massive followings. Now, the way the algorithms are built, anyone in theory with 5 followers can generate, a few million views on a video if it meets, the algorithmic criteria. And so I think what that means, it opens up a world of possibilities for businesses that don't currently have a massive amount of exposure online to growth hack their way to that kind of content style that is, I guess, eligible to go viral in a way. And the only way you kind of learn that, from my experience, from trial and error and trying different things, eventually you might find that one video out of 100 that goes viral. I think the mistake a lot of people make is they try something for a while and maybe it doesn't get the results they want, so they give up. And it's like anything, the old cliche, you've got to have time in the market as opposed to timing the market. So I think social media algorithms are exactly the same. But if I just think about the one kind of biggest common denominator, especially in the consumer product space, less so on the B2B side, it's also relevant there, but from like direct to consumer businesses, from a virality standpoint, companies that really smashed it, you could look at it like whether it's Canva or Leonardo AI or, Checkmate, etc. There's so many examples where these companies went viral organically without having to spend much of anything online, just by virtue of having an amazing product, which is a prerequisite, but then really knowing how to find the right levers, whether it's on TikTok, on Instagram, to create the right form of content through experimentation. And eventually something went viral.
Yeah.
And then you just see this incredible user growth that happens at the moment that a brand goes viral, and it just continues to grow and compound exponentially from there. So, organic virality is what I would call it. And I think that's something that, every business owner that's especially in the consumer space should be focused on trying to do, because, the ROI is just massive and doesn't really require much nowadays to get started.
Amazing. Hence why we're here, right?
I think so.
And when we were on the plane coming back from Dubai, which is amazing, probably have to touch on another time, you mentioned deep customer love and how important that is to a business. Go on.
Yeah, well, I think in venture and in the tech scene more broadly, there's this idea of finding product market fit, and that's obviously a very well established, very well covered concept. But if I was to think about it, I would try and kind of hone into it's a very nice abstract term, and there's all different opinions on what exactly it means, etc. But I think fundamentally what you're looking to do at a very early stage is establish what I would call deep customer love, or DCL. So, if you have a product, to really get a signal that it's going to be a massive success, if you can get evidence that customers not just like what you produce, but love what you produce and are willing to pay for it and are willing to promote it themselves. For example, Afterprime, one of the things I observed at the Dubai Expo was how you guys had established this really deep customer love, where you had customers that we weren't even doing any outbound. They were coming to us and finding us, and they were just so excited to see us there because of how much value Afterprime had generated for them as traders. I think that's the kind of textbook example of what deep customer love is, where you have such love from your customers that they turn into net promoters. And then, the impacts of that across, marketing and growth efforts are massive. So, from an investment standpoint, I think a lot of the time what they're looking for is, can you establish, like, a great idea is one thing, that's obviously a prerequisite, great founder, great execution, all prerequisites. But the thing that really, I think, moves the dial is if you have all of those things, then the ability to demonstrate that you can establish deep customer love, that your customers are, loving what you've built, they're willing to pay for it. And you can literally go out there and talk to customers and say, hey, here's my product, try it. What do you think? If they like it, okay, great. What can we do to make you love it? What feature set do we have to add? What is it, a pricing issue? Is it a particular feature set that you want? What are the things that we can do to add or take away that would make you convert from I like the product to I love the product? And I think the people who do that, that in of itself is a massive recipe.
You know what I think comes first?
Tell me.
You got to love the client before they love you. And if you're working in a model that is a bit broken and a little bit like weird, for example, we won't talk about it, but yeah, I think you got to be on side with them. And if you're on side with your clients, then you can love them. If you don't, then it's just not going to be the same.
It's pretty hard to know what customers will love if you don't have any empathy for the
Yeah.
customers. So fundamentally, I think that putting the best product in the market and demonstrating to customers how dedicated you are to constantly improving it for their benefit is the biggest signal that you can give to a customer that you care about them and you have empathy for them. And then the natural response to that is deep customer love. So perhaps focus less on how you can growth hack through fancy marketing techniques and focus more on putting the very best product out there, not through what you think, but go get data. Go and actually put the product in customers' hands and say, hey, what do you think? What can we improve? Do that at a scalable critical mass level, and you're basically not guaranteed, but you're basically 99% of the way there. Now it's just a matter of, okay, marketing becomes, I don't have to convince you to use it. I just have to tell you that it exists.
Amazing.
Much easier to do the latter than just do the former.
Yeah. To finish off, maybe some rapid fire questions.
Shoot.
I'll go first. What's the best advice you received lately?
Never lose that intern or learner's mindset. Always have the humility to approach every interaction as an opportunity to learn. And I think that's something I've really been trying to actively work on myself. What one thing traders should stop doing right now?
Stop trading in other brokers and trade with Afterprime. Nah, you trade where you want. Look, I think that the biggest thing for a trader to get right is to see for themselves when they're repeating the same mistakes. And if you're not able to sit on your hands when you're trading and you haven't been able to stop yourself from over trading or going against your plan, you're never going to make it. It's you got to really be honest with yourself. So I think the first thing I'd say to stop doing right now is stop not being honest with yourself if you aren't, and get a journal out, write your notes down of exactly what checklist you need before you take a trade, and make sure you stick to it. And if you're having trouble, jump on the Discord. We hold each other accountable and we can have a chat about it. Biggest industry misconception?
So you can get rich quick.
Yeah.
There's, that is the advertising, that is the marketing.
Have you not seen shitcoins?
I mean, that's the thing. It's possible, but again, it's not probable. So yeah, I think it's time in the market, not timing the market like anything. It's not a get rich quick scheme. Either you are going to invest in the knowledge and the skill set and the experience, or you're not.
Amazing.
That's what it comes down to.
Very good. So we're getting the clap from the old clapper that they do. I might just finish off with what people can expect from Afterprime next. So, we're rolling out this 0 commission offer to rest of world at the moment. So if you're watching this podcast, just send me an email or send me a message and I might be able to unlock it for you. And yeah, prop trading, definitely. I hope by the end of the year, we'll have something up and running on that. MT5's coming soon as well, next couple of weeks, hopefully. So I know a lot of clients have been asking about that. And just in general, we're going to keep pushing the needle forward on making sure we have the best execution, the lowest costs, and making sure everyone's really happy. So I think that'll wrap up our first podcast. We'll be back here in 2 weeks and keep it going. If you have any feedback on what you'd like to see or some questions that you'd like answered, let us know. Until then, choose Afterprime.
Peace.
Peace.